All right, guys, I'm going to keep this short and sweet and to the point. We're going to try to install heated seats in the back seats of a 2013 Mustang. I previously installed heated seats. The car didn't come with them, and I installed them factory for the driver's seat and passenger seat. So I have a pretty good understanding, a solid understanding of heated seats and how they work. And I installed them in a 1994 Ford F-150. This kit I've previously done, but it'll be like most kits you use. So the first thing you need to know, pretty much all of your universal kits are going to come with 4 wires, okay? Very simply put, you're going to have an always-on power wire. You're going to have a ignition-on power wire. You're going to have a ground. And in some cases, just some, you're going to have this yellow wire, which is probably an illumination wire. Essentially, I don't have it here with me right now, but the buttons that I have actually light up when you turn the lights on in your car. Not the overhead dome lights, but when it's dark and, you know, your automatic, your interior lighting comes on, light switches, door switches, all of that stuff. That's what this would be wired into if your kit has that. Otherwise, you may only have 3 wires. Again, always on, ignition on, and ground. Now, we're actually in relatively good shape. My plan is on the back of the center console. So right here, down here, is where I plan on putting my switches. Very easy to access, whether you're behind the driver's seat, behind the passenger seat. So I'm going to install them there, which is going to be sort of out of sight, but still look relatively good. But luckily for us, we need to do everything inside the center console. Now, the reason I said we're in relatively good shape is because there are 4 wires we need to access. Remember, there is always on, there is going to be hot on ignition, ground, and the interior light. That only comes on when, you know, it's dark out or you put on your switch. The reason I say we're in good shape is because inside, and my center console is a little bit of a mess here, there's a lot of stuff, but you will have a cigarette lighter in here. The cigarette lighter is an always on. So the reason we're in good shape is right off the bat, we have always on and we have ground. This is on a 20 amp circuit. That goes to fuse, I believe fuse 5, if I wrote that down correctly. Yep. So the inline ground on my unit has 15 amp. So I believe that means I should be okay because I'm adding a 15 to a 20 amp circuit. I'm not an electrical engineer, but I think it's as long as you don't exceed what's there, you should be okay. But I don't really use this, to be honest with you. I use the one in the center up between the 2 vents, so nothing else is going to be most likely running off of that circuit. So that knocks out 2 wires, ground and our hot. And then, so that leaves us with 2 wires. We want accessory on, and we want the illumination. Now, the good thing for us is we have these switches over here, which is the traction control, the hazards, and the trunk. These have ambient lights that turn on when it's dark. So I'm going to be able to pull my ambient lighting from there. So that solves my ambient light, which leaves me with one last wire that I need, which is my accessory on only. And that is going to be the harder one. Now, I have 2 places right off the bat I know of off the top of my head that I could pull it from. I could pull it from the plug that's underneath the driver's side seat. And just, you know, run it right over here. That comes from the heated seats for the heated seat switch. I'm sort of thinking about that. I really don't know what the access is. And to be honest, if I'm going to run the wire under the carpet, it's probably going to be a headache to try to do that while the seat is in, and I really don't want to take the seat out. The other place I can pull it from is fuse number 43 in the smart junction box. That's the same fuse that feeds that wire under there. But again, I'm not sure what I want to do, if that's where I want to pull it from, because then I'm going to have to go under the dash, sort of behind the radio, which won't be impossible, but it's just not going to be fun to try to get it underneath the center console. But anyway, that's what we're going to do. So let's see what we can do quickly as we try to set this up. So I'm going to make sure my e-brake is on. And the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to start taking off. This is going to be a little harder for you guys to see, but I'll do my best. I'm going to start taking off my shifter. So I'm going to spin that about, I don't know, 30 times, 15 times. Off it comes. Then I'm going to grip back here, and I'm going to lift up. Actually, what I think you have to do is you have to pull the shifter straight back. Grip it, lift up. That's going to pop out. Slide it back. Make sure you pull that up and off. And then as you're lifting this, there are two wires that you need to unplug. There is the one that we want to target, which is our shifter. Let's see if I can pull you guys under here. So it would be, it's a little hard to show on the camera, this plug right here. So I'm going to pull that one out. And then if I look back here, there are plugs for if you have the LED package, which I do, that has to come out as well. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to drop out that one, and then two wires. So one is right here. That is for, this one is for that, the cup holders, and the other one is for something else. Oh, what am I doing here? What is this? Oh, and you gotta unclip it from, actually, you don't even need to unclip it. Just lay it to the side and you should be okay. So now that we have that open, let's go ahead and let's look at the first switch. So this is the switch where we're gonna get our ambient lighting from. And I have all the wiring diagrams. I pay for all data, so I'm very familiar with this, but I wrote it down before I came out. Violet gray is the interior lights, and it's in port number 6. So let's take a look here. Let's spin this around. It's a little bit hard to see, but it looks like we have violet black on the end, and then it looks like we have yellow gray, and I believe this is violet gray, and then we have gray yellow and brown yellow. The reason I'm going to assume it's this one here is because I wrote down that it's pin number 6. So I wrote pin number 1 is the ground. That's here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So I know this is the wire I want to tap into. That's going to power my lights. Okay, so that's the first thing. And let's just do a test. Let's give this a test. I have my multimeter here, and it's currently set up. I'm going to pull out my little tester, and I am going to test for voltage. So I'm going to put this on 20. Okay, if you're familiar with your multimeter, put it on 20. Got my zeros over here. I'm going to drop this down. Now, I'm just going to simply pin number 6. I can't get in because this thing is too tight. So let's see, what can we do? Can we pull this little cap out? I don't have my pin removal tool, unfortunately. Otherwise, I would give it a shot. I would do this more easily, but let's see if I can get this open with this. I do not like doing this, but let's see if this will work. Okay, that gives me better access to the pins where I can check my ground, I can check all that stuff. So let's take a look here. So we're going to put this in number 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And we're going to put this other one on the ground, which is number 1. And we get nothing. Our multimeter shows 0. I'm going to see if I can put this in a way that you guys can see it. Move my arms around. Pin 6 and pin 1, so we get nothing, 0. Now let's go see what happens if we actually force the lights on. And to be honest with you, I'm not sure how to do that in this car because I've never done it before. But I put the light switch to switch number 2. Let's see what happens now. Like I said, we're doing this as we learn. We're learning as we go. So, pin number 6. Pin number 1. Look at that. 1.5 volts. Not thrilled about that because I don't know if that's going to be enough to power the lights in this. But honestly, we'll just have to see. But evidently, you can see here that we are now getting voltage into that. The thing with the Mustang is that I think everything is LEDs and everything is controlled digitally, which is why it allows them to send a much smaller signal. On my other on the truck, it's a 12 volts coming through. So, I mean, we're just going to have to see how this goes. But the lucky thing is we can just see how it goes. So let me pause you guys right here for a second. I'm going to go run and I'm going to go get the plugs and see if we can test this out. All right, guys, I'm back. What you can see here, these are the switches I was talking about. So what happens is the little seats light up when it's illuminated. And then the little LEDs on the top indicate the level of heat you have going. So what we're going to do is we're going to test this out. I'm going to plug this into the controller. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the yellow wire. And I'm going to plug the yellow wire into the voltage pin, which is pin number 1. Now again, we're just doing this for testing purposes. Sorry, not pin 1. Pin 6. Okay, and then we're going to take the ground, and unfortunately for me, the ground on here has this, which is not helpful. So we're going to test this out. We have our, clearly it's not lit right now. Well, maybe not clearly. Try to hide that. Then what we're going to do is we're going to stick this in here. And in theory, as long as that's in there, we should get light. And we don't. Now, I don't know if that's because my ground is terrible or if it's because we just don't straight have the right setup. Anyway, I'm not even going to use this. Actually, what happens if I put it here? Let's see, is that a good ground? No, that is not a good ground either. Shifter is not a good ground, I'm sure. Yeah, now this may just be honestly because we're not getting enough voltage and this thing is expecting 12 volts out of this wire. I'm gonna go check to see if I have the wiring diagram correct, so we'll find out in a minute. Okay, so I do have the circuit correct. Yellow is the appropriate one. But unfortunately, this means we are sort of out of luck here. I don't think I'm going to wire it in here. I thought this was going to work, but to be honest, if the voltage is so low, I have 2 other options. One is probably some sort of a transformer to step up the voltage so that it's more accepting of it here, which may be what I ultimately decide to do. Or the other option would be, well, I don't even know. I don't know where else I could wire it because I believe the switch is already digital after the headlight switch. So everything that happens after the headlight switch. The other thing I could do is I could just wire it to the accessory on. So the seat lights will just always be on whenever the car is turned on. I'm not opposed to that. It's not horrendous. Yeah, you know what? Maybe that's what we'll do. So I am going to turn you guys around for a second so that you can see the other switch, which will get us what we're looking for in the terms of always on and ground. So here we go. Okay, now I will be honest with you guys. I can not see what you can see, so I'm going to flip so that you can see what I see. Okay, so when we look underneath here, we have 3 switches as I get you guys settled. And that's better. We have 3 switches underneath. There's really only one that we care about. That is the round one. This one right here. So we're going to pull that one out. And I'm going to take you guys through what you're seeing. Once I figure out how to pull it out. Would be nice, but you know what, honestly, we don't even need to pull it out. What you can see here is you'll see there's 2 wires attached to this, a red gray and a black yellow. Red gray is your power, black yellow is your ground. So those are the 2 we're going to want to tap into. How do we know? Well, I could use my multimeter, I could test it out, but honestly, you guys are just going to have to trust me on this one. And I really wanted to pull this out so it'd be easier to work with, but quite frankly, this thing is fighting me as much as it humanly possibly can. And I can't get it out of here. So, that's alright. What we're going to do is we're going to go with our quick connects. And what I have here, simple kit from Amazon, quick connects. I'm going to choose the 18 to 14 because I am fairly certain that this is not 12 gauge wire. I didn't write it down from the wiring diagram, so that's okay. I'm going to go with blue, which for me is 14 to 18. Alright, so first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to grab my pliers, grab my quick connect, loop it in. I'll be honest with you guys, I am not really good with these. There's probably a better way of doing this, but this is what I'm gonna try, and oh my goodness, I definitely screwed that up. The whole thing fell apart. Oh boy, alright. Wouldn't be a good video if I didn't make some mistakes, right? Alright, quick connect number 1 is in. That's good. Now we'll go with quick connect number 2. And we're going to stick that one on there as well. Now that that one's in, the one thing I'm going to warn you guys about is do not connect your lights, the illumination, to the always on power. If you connect your lights to the always on power, you're going to kill your battery because the lights are going to run and run and run and run even when the car is off. You do not want that. Okay, so stay away from that, and you will not run into any issues. All right, guys, so those 2 quick connects are in. You're around, take a look. Here we go. So always on power and ground. The next thing I think I'm going to do is I'm going to try to run the wire from I don't know if I'm going to do underneath the seat or if I'm going to do the fuse box. The fuse box is probably going to be far easier to get the wire through. I think we're going to do the fuse box. All right, I will catch you guys in a few. You are definitely going to need an add a fuse if you're going to do it this way. So let's get started. I will see you guys in part 2.